Welcome to part 3 of the lecture today. In part 3, we will discuss the substantive aspect of the specific business tax. In part 1, we have learned about the historical development as well as the policy rationale for separating value-added tax and specific business tax. And in this part, we will learn about the business that are subject to SBT, the businesses that are exempted from SBT, as well as SBT tax rate and SBT tax rate. Let's explore together. So, as we have discussed before, that specific business tax is another type of indirect taxation, which is regulated under the Revenue Code of Thailand. And you can see that under the Revenue Code, it consists of 6 main chapters. And specific business tax is in Chapter 5 under the Revenue Code. So now we know that where is it and where you can find the provision that regulates specific business tax. If you look at Chapter 5 of the Revenue Code, you can see that in Chapter 5 there are only 21 provisions that govern specific business tax. And in these 21 provisions, I can categorize into 6 main groups. Let's have a look what are they. You can see that as in the previous slide, you can see that the specific business tax provision consists of 21 provisions and it can be categorized into 4 main groups. Actually, the first 2 groups, which is Group 1 and Group 2, relating to the substantive aspect of specific business tax. Group 3, Group 4, Group 5, and Group 6 relating to the procedural aspect of specific business tax. But in this clip, we will focus on the substantive aspect of specific business tax. Group 1 is about the businesses which are subject to specific business tax and the business which are exempted from specific business tax. And in Group 2, about tax base and tax rate. So in this clip, we will focus on the substantive aspect of the specific business tax first. Actually, in Group 1, the first thing that you need to know about specific business tax is that what type of business that are subject to SBT and the type of businesses which are exempted from SBT, because we have discussed before that specific business tax only apply to certain type of business, not all type of businesses. So therefore, we need to know what are they. So in this group, it's divided into 3 main provisions. First, we need to know business which be subject to specific business tax. And also based on this, there are also business tax which shall be exempted from specific business tax. And also in some case, even the business are exempted from specific business tax, some specific transactions of that business are still subject to value-added tax. So in Group 1, there are 3 main provisions that we should know about the specific business tax. Let's start with the first provision. Let's have a look what type of business which are subject to specific business tax in Thailand. In case you are working in that business in the future, you can advise your business that, oh, we need to pay specific business tax to the revenue department. Before we explore the type of business that are subject to specific business tax. Let's recap the policy rationale underlying value-added tax and specific business tax that we have discussed in the first clip again. As we have discussed in the first clip, you can see that the VAT or value-added tax is a broad-based tax. Therefore, VAT apply to sale of goods, provision of service, and importation of goods and service. This is provide under Section 77/2 of the Revenue Code. But for specific business tax only imposed on the certain type of businesses whose value added is difficult to define, such as banking, finance, credit foncier, life insurance, pawn shop, and real estate. Therefore, you can see that based on different policy rationale, this type of business are considered to be outside from the VAT system, and therefore this business that we will explore in the next presentation will subject to specific business tax instead of VAT. So this is you can see this provision in section 91/2 of the Revenue Code. So you can see that now VAT and SBT are separate regimes. The businesses that subject to SBT will be excluded or are considered be outside of the VAT system. We need to understand this principle first. So after we understand this principle, let's have a look at the business that are subject to specific business tax. So you can see that in the global value chain or domestic value chain or in the real world, there are a variety of business activity or businesses. So each type of businesses is regulated by different area of law. For example, banking and finance business are regulated by the Bank of Thailand, but law on finance, banking and finance and banking regulation of the Bank of Thailand. But for brokerage firm or security business, they are regulated under the Security and Exchange Act and also the SEC and SET rules and regulation. So each type of business, there are different type of business in the society, and each type of business are regulated by different legislation. Even though there are various types of business in the global value chain or supply chain, but you need to understand that not all businesses are subject to specific business tax. This is mean in general, if you provide service, you need to subject to VAT or value added tax. But for some particular type of business that their value added is difficult to define, it needs to subject to SBT instead. So the law or the revenue code tell you what type of business that are subject to SBT. So at this stage, you need to understand that there are variety of business activity, but not all business activity that are subject to SBT. Only the business that specified by the revenue code are subject to specific business tax. So let's have a look what business that are subject to SBT. Actually, the principle, this principle is provided under section 91/2 of the Revenue Code, which is say that if anybody carrying on the business under 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 type of business have to pay specific business tax to the Revenue Department. And in addition, if even though you does not carry on the business in the country, but even you are outside the kingdom, but you carry on your business through a place of business in Thailand, or you have an agent who is in the kingdom of Thailand, you need to pay specific business tax to the revenue department as well. So the principle of specific business tax is provided under section 91/2 under the revenue code. So now let's have a look at what type of businesses that are subject to specific business tax. Actually, at the present, there are only 8 types of business that the law say that you need to pay specific business tax. The first, we will look at one by one later, but in big picture, you can see that there are, for example, banking business under the law governing commercial banking and other specific law, like in Thailand, we have the Banking and Finance Act. And second, the business of finance, security, as I mentioned before, the credit sponsorship, we have like a security law on security and stock exchange, and as well as the SEC and the stock exchange regulation that governing this second type of business. The third type is life insurance. And the fourth is power bank broking or โรงรับจำนำ The fifth type of business is like business which regularly provide a transaction that's similar to commercial banks in the first category. For example, like some business are not qualified as a banking, but they can provide some type of business such as money exchange or like issuance or purchase or sales of bill or transfer of money aboard like Western Union. This is the fifth category. The sixth category is like a sale of an immovable property in commercial or profitable manner. This is still related to the real estate industry or real estate business. And the seventh category is the sale of security in the stock exchange of Thailand under the law on security and stock exchange. And the eighth group is any other business that the lawmaker couldn't think about, but they say that in addition to the seventh category, the Ministry of Finance can provide an addition of business that are subject to specific business tax in the royal decree. At the present, there are 2 main royal decree I provide you in this slide relating to the security repurchase business and factoring business. So this is the big picture of the particular type of businesses that are subject to specific business tax under the revenue code. So let's have a look at the first category with an example together. The first category under section 91/1 is the banking business. You can see that the first category is a commercial banking under the law of commercial banking or any other specific law. And as I have mentioned before, in Thailand, we have the law on commercial and banking called กฎหมายธนาคารพาณิชย์หรือกฎหมายเฉพาะอื่น We have and also like we have regulation of the Bank of Thailand that regulate banking business. This is the first category. For example, this is the easy one. Just if you go to the department store, you can see like banking business are, for example, SCB is Siam Commercial Bank, right? Or BBL Bangkok Bank or Kasikorn Bank. So this type, if you provide a banking business, you need to pay specific business tax to the revenue department. This is an example of the first type of business that are subject to the SBT. Let's have a look at the second category. The second category is the finance, security and credit foncier. Actually, in Thai we call ธุรกิจเงินทุนธุรกิจหลักทรัพย์ and ธุรกิจ foncier. So as we have the law, specific law that regulate the operation of business of finance, security and credit foncier as well. For example, พระราชบัญญัติว่าด้วยการควบคุมเกี่ยวกับเรื่องของกิจการเงินทุนธุรกิจหลักทรัพย์และธุรกิจ foncier as well. So this type of business are subject to specific business tax. This is an example of the finance, security and credit fonciers. Like you might have seen before, like the Trinity. Trinity is like a security company. ธนาชาตินะคะธนาชาติ security company. This is some example of the security business that are subject to specific business tax in Thailand. The third category is a life insurance business. Just only the life insurance, not other type of insurance. So life insurance is like we have like a specific or a special law that regulate this business. This is means in order to operate banking or finance or life insurance business, you need to get a license from the government authority that supervise particular industry, and life insurance is one category that you need to get a license first, and if you operate this business you need to pay specific business tax, but the focus is that you need to be aware that only life insurance that subject to specific business tax. The fourth category is pawnbroking. Pawnbroking in Thai is called โรงรับจำนำนะคะ Actually in order to operate or carry on the pawnbroking, you need to get a permission as well under the law on pawnbroking, pawn shop. And if you operate this business, you are subject to specific business tax as well. And the fifth category is the business with regular transactions similar to commercial bank in the first category, such as the provision of loan service or provision of guarantee, exchange of currencies, currency exchange, issue, purchase or sell negotiable instrument, or transfer of money abroad like Western Union by different means. So this is they are not actually commercial bank, but they can provide some type of service that is similar to commercial banking. So these business are also subject to specific business tax in Thailand. And the sixth category is the sale of immovable property in a commercial or profitable manner. For example, land or real estate business. But the key point is that you need to sell in a commercial or profitable manner. But you don't have to worry what is the definition of in a commercial or profitable manner because in Thailand, we have a royal decree number 342 นะคะ that provide you with the detail to explain what in commercial or profitable manner means. So in practice, you need to follow the guideline or the detail that provide under this royal decree. And this is an example of the detail that provide in the royal decree. You can see that the Article 4 of the royal decree provide a definition of in commercial or profitable manner. In this case, you need to pay specific business tax. However, this royal decree also provide an exception. This is mean you can see in this presentation if you qualify under the exception. For example, if you sell the immovable property that you receive from like as a succession, you can get the exception under the law. So this is like in practice you need to look at the this royal decree in addition to the revenue code to see that your transaction is justified as in commercial or profitable manner or not, or if yes, you might get some exemption as well. This is an example of the detail in the royal decree. And the seventh category of business that are subject to specific business tax is the sale of security in the stock exchange of Thailand. Actually, the law that governing this type of business is the law on stock exchange. So this is the seventh category. And the last category is other business that are provided under the royal decree, but at the present time there are two main royal decree. The first one is number 350 and another one is 358. 350 is about the security repurchase, and 358 is about the factoring business, and these two business are subject to specific business tax under the revenue code as well, but under the 8th category. After we understand the 8th category of business which are subject to SBT under section 91/1 in the blue circle, even though that particular type of business might be subject to SBT under section 91/2, but if these business are operated by the government or belong to the government, section 91/3 say that they are exempted from specific business tax. So don't worry, first you need to look at section 91/2 first, that whether that type of business has to pay specific business tax or not. If yes, you need to look at section 91/3 because even though they provide the service under section 91/2, but if it's operated by the government or government authority, they might be get an exemption under section 91/3. So let's have a look at the section 91/3 together. You can see that Step 1, the first step, you need to look at whether the business subject to SBT or not. After that, the second step, you need to look at whether the business are exempted from SBT. This is provided under section 91/3. So let's have a look at the exemption together. You can see that under section 91/3 of the Revenue Department provide exemption for the business, some business from specific business tax, including the business of the Bank of Thailand, the Government Saving Bank, the Government Housing Bank, Bank of Agriculture, and Agriculture Cooperative. And let's look together. The second category that get an exemption is the business of Industrial Finance Corporation of Thailand. The third category is business of saving cooperative, only in respect of loan provided to its members or to another saving cooperative. The first category is the business of provident fund under the law governing provident fund, business of National Housing Authority only in respect of sale, hire purchase of an immovable property, pawnbroking business of ministry, sub-ministry, department, and local government authority, and 7, other any business under section 91/2 as prescribed by a royal decree. So you can see that you may notice that this business actually it should be pay specific business tax under section 91/2, but because of they operated by the government or government authority, therefore the law exempts specific business tax for them. For example, you can see that if we learn from section 31/2 that the sales of immovable property are subject to SBT. But if you look at number 5, if it is a business of National Housing Authority, this is the government authority, it is sub-exempted from specific business tax. Or we have learned that pawnbroking business in general, like if operated by private, need to pay specific business tax under section 91/2. But if it's operated by a ministry or กระทรวง sub-ministry, department กระทรวงทบวงกรม and local government authority, it is exempted from business specific business tax under section 91/3. So this is mean you don't, it's easy. This is mean actually this business are business in section 91/2, but if it's operated by the government or government authority, so the law just exempts specific business tax for them. And in addition to the first 6 category, the 7th category also like give the authority to the Ministry of Finance to specific additional business that are exempted from SBT by the Royal Decree. And to date, there are a Royal Decree number 240 that provide business that get an exemption from the SBT. So you can have a look at your own time. And let me give you some to give you a picture or the view of the section 91/3. This is an example of business that are exempted from specific business tax. For example, Bank of Thailand, because Bank of Thailand is the like independent authority established under the law, so therefore is exempted from SBT. Or government saving bank, you can see that government saving bank is a banking business, but because it's owned by government, so that is why it's exempt from specific business tax. But you can see that the service is not good at the private bank, right? And because the fee and everything is lower, because ธนาคารออมสิน or government saving bank is exempted from SBT. Or National Housing Authority is like operated by the government organization as well. So therefore, all of them are exempted from specific business tax under section 91/3 of the Revenue Code. This is an example. You can see that they are operated by the government or government authority. So this is the Royal Decree that I mentioned before, that it gives the detail about the businesses that operate by the government that are exempted from the specific business tax. There are including like that operate by government authority itself, state enterprise, or independent organization, which is not a private sector. So there are like exempted from specific business tax. I think to date there are around 37 organizations that operate this way and exempted from the specific business tax under Thailand, the law of Thailand. So and the last provision that are in the first category is the section 91/4, which is referred to as specific transaction of business, which shall be subject to value added tax. So this is mean in principle the business transaction or business activity that are subject to specific business tax is excluded from VAT. However, in some specific case, the law still say that specific transaction still subject to VAT. This is like a specific provision. Let's have a look. What are the specific transaction of the business under section 91/2 that's still subject to VAT. So you can see that under section 91/2, the business that are subject to SBT include 8 categories, and in principle, these business are excluded from the application of value-added tax. But however, in some particular circumstances, it shall be subject to value-added tax in particular aspect. The first scenario is that a specific transaction not directly related to business under 91/2. This is mean even though, for example, K-Bank or Kasikorn Bank provide banking business, but if they have like other specific transaction that are not related to banking business at all. For example, they buy or sell other type of product. They are still subject to VAT because that transaction not directly related to banking and finance business. Second, a specific transaction that directly related to business under section 91/2. However, it's specified by a royal decree that it is still subject to value-added tax. This is a special case, but we need to see the royal decree number 246. So you can see that this section 91/4 create a problem, a lot of issue. So if there are any question or dispute arise, actually the law say that Director General of the Revenue Department shall request the Commission of Taxation to define the scope and condition of that transaction. So the commission can give the ruling, and the ruling shall be published in the royal decree. So this is section it's a tricky section, like section 91/4 is a little bit tricky transaction. This is mean if even though the business under section 91/2 are subject to SBT and not subject to VAT, but if they operate or provide a transaction that not directly related to section 91/2, that particular transaction still subject to VAT. This is sensible, this makes sense. And in addition, even though it's directly related, but in some scenario, in some case, the law might ask you to pay VAT as well. Let's have a look in that case. This is in Royal Decree number 246. For example, if the K-Bank in general is provide banking and banking transaction or banking business, in that case, K-Bank doesn't have to pay VAT for in that case. But if K-Bank or Kasikorn Bank also provide a service as an underwriter or จัดจำหน่ายหลักทรัพย์ under subsection 6 under this royal decree, K-Bank still have to pay VAT for the fee that it receives in providing underwriting service. This is for example. Or if that institution also provide a counseling or advice relating to the business, it still have to pay VAT or charge VAT on the counseling service. This is an example. This is detailed in the Royal Decree number 2.6. And after we understand what type of business that are subject to SBT and what type of business that are not subject to SBT. Now we need to understand tax base and tax rate. Actually, it's not difficult one because the revenue department provide the detail in the revenue department already. Unlike VAT that have a general tax base and 7% tax rate. For SBT, there are different tax base and different tax rate for different business transactions. As you can see that in section 91/2, we have different business right that are subject to SBT and different business that are subject to SBT subject to different tax base and different tax base. So let's have a look the tax base in section 91/5 and the tax rate in section 91/6 together. This is an easy one. Actually, if you look at section 91/5 of the Revenue Code, you can see that it's already provide you with the detail of the tax base for particular business transaction. And also the tax rates for particular business transaction. But look at the tax base first. But for example, because you don't worry about memorizing because I have discussed with Ajahn Pacharapon and we agree that your exam, your final exam will be an open book exam. So you don't need to memorize, but you need to understand how the law apply to the fact. So let's have a look at the tax base first. For example, K-Bank is considered as the banking business under section 91/2. The tax base for K-Bank is depend on the type of service is provided to the customer. For example, it could be interest, discount, service fee, other fees, or profit from foreign exchange. Or if you provide if you provide a pawn brokerage, the tax base for pawn brokerage service are interest fee remuneration from selling overdue property. If you operate life insurance business, the tax base for SBT are interest, service fee, and other fees. If you provide business of finance, security, or credit from CA, your tax base are interest, discount, service fee, other fees, and profit from foreign exchange. But if you are operate like Western Union or business with regular transaction similar to commercial bank, your tax base includes interest, discount, service fee, other fee, and profit from foreign exchange. But if you sell immovable property, your tax base will be a gross receipt. Or if you sell the security in a security market, your tax base will be a gross receipt as well. So you can see that the tax base for specific business tax is depend on the type of business that are subject to SBT. So different type of business maybe use different tax base depend on the type of business. And this is related to tax rate as well. While the VAT are broad-based indirect tax, SBT is specific tax for specific business, and the tax base is depend on the type of business. And so tax rate also depend on the type of business as well. In general, SBT consists of 3 different tax rate, including, for example, for 0.1% for the sale of immovable property, 2.5% for life insurance business, and 3.0% for banking and financial business. So the difficult about SBT is that you need to understand different type of business, different tax base, and different tax rate that apply for different type of business. So there are 3 different SBT tax rate in Thailand, like 3.0, 2.5, and 0.1%. So, but at the moment, there are a royal decree that provide a tax reduction, like for some particular type of business, like reduced 3.0% to 0.01% for particular type business. This is, you can see the detail in the Royal Decree number 469. And so therefore we have learned about the substantive aspect of a specific business tax. In this part, you need to understand the principle underlying specific business tax and why the government separate value add tax and specific business tax in 1992. Second, after you understand the policy rationale for separating specific business tax from the VAT. Next, you need to understand the businesses that are subject to SBT under Section 91/2, right? And the business that are exempted from the SBT under Section 91/3, and also the business that are subject to VAT under Section 91/4. And after that, after you understand this, it's easy to understand tax base and tax rate, but you need to be aware that the tax rate and tax rate, there are different tax base and tax rate for specific business tax, but it depends on the type of business activity that provide under the Revenue Department. This is all about the substantive aspect of specific business tax. In the next clip, I think clip number 3, we will discuss the procedural aspect. Like this is just the procedure to how to pay, how to register, how to pay or get a refund regarding the SBT. See you in clip number 3.